modify the footer, but that shouldn't matter all that much. Yeah, can you guys see that all right? Looks like it's all right. Okay, are you guys able to see everything? Just want to make sure you get a confirmation here, but it sounds like I can get started. Okay, so now that I have a monitor here, a lot of people have been asking for yeah. Full UI visible. Great. All right, that's all I was looking for. I want to make sure everything was all set. Looks good here. I don't appear to be dropping any frames either, so it looks like my stream can handle outputting 1440p, which I was worried about, but looks okay. Okay, so a lot of people were asking me about my son of a bee sting. There it is. A lot of people were asking me about my custom UI. So I finally threw that together on a Gumroad page. So if you guys want, you can go and get, yeah, the footer bar is overlaying the brushes. That's fine. There's nothing really down there besides a few overlap brushes. There is my Gumroad page that has my UI on it. And so that's the 1080 UI. I figure that's probably what most people were using anyway. That was the UI I had before I got the new Cintiq. I'll probably do another one for the 1440 UI, but I'm still tweaking with it. I mean, having this much space is actually a blessing and a curse, because just trying to set it up last night, I got a little carried away. So yeah, I've just got all the extra brushes I could use. I got pretty much everything that I had in the sub menu. I pretty much have just in front of my face now, including in this custom UI. I also included like the sub palettes here. So like, you know, you have the alpha sub palettes, geometry sub palettes, crease and polygroup sub palettes. But now that I got all this extra space with the 1440, I'm actually putting a lot of that stuff just on my front end now. So I'm really excited about that. It appears as though things will be a little bit faster for me now. So I'm really excited about that. The main thing too is that it's kind of too much space. Like, it's kind of overwhelming. I gotta actually reach my arm all the way over here for stuff, and I'm just trying to, you know, I think the extra space is kind of intimidating at first. You know, being 27 inches. I think my last one, I think, is about a half of a foot smaller than that. So yeah, that's my new workspace. I might be working a little bit slower today as a result, but certainly very happy with it so far. I mean, this is also a touch one, but I think I disabled touch for ZBrush because I was finding myself like accidentally using my wrist and panning the screen more than I liked. But you know, it's nice because like I've kind of been able to, now that I have the space, I can like organize my brushes into places that matter. I'll move these things out of the way real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Like down here, thanks Wee Bingo. Yeah, I keep the face cam small so it stays out of the way of the UI, and I like it fitting right, nestling right in there. Also, the people at Pixelogic gave us some headers as well that go at the top. So I think for next week I'll just move this is the first time I've ever used the brushes along the bottom of the screen. I usually don't do anything at the bottom because with the 16:9 wide aspect ratio, I usually tend to jam things in the sides so that the UI space is coming inward. But I just had so much space on this one, and the extra two rows of brushes didn't really hurt, and that enabled me to get all the brushes off the side of the panels. So I'll next week I come through, I'll change the footer into a header, and that'll just obfuscate the top title bar there, and there's not really much going on there anyway for you guys to be missing out. That way you can at least see what brushes I have down here. So I'll do that for next week. And then increasing the face cam size, I probably won't do that. But yeah, anyway, the thing I wanted to show you guys was now I've got all these brushes, and these are all my cut brushes. And typically I only gave myself room for one or two, but they all kind of do different things. Like the Ma cut brushes, M-A-H, I think it's Michael's his name. His three brushes all do very different things. Thanks to Redbeard, Matt Thorup, one of our other streamers, he introduced me to these Jack cut brushes, and these are different as well, and these are really cool. I like these a lot. They have like a brush, pinch, and a cut. What's up, Index? What's up, Whiskey? What's going on, guys? And then, okay, I'll talk about, you want to Imaginator, I'll let you know how we do that. Well, I'll do some little demo real quick of how to do that in a second here. And then like this, Shane Olson just joined the Pixelogic streamer team, and he's a really talented artist, does some really cool stuff, and his brushes are free on his website. So if you go to ZBrush, or sorry, if you go to Shane Olson's website, you can get some of his brushes. His little brush pack is really useful. I recommend it as well. I took some of my favorites out and put them right inside here. So yeah, so like now that I have the real estate on this new monitor, I put all my cut brushes down here. These are all my curve brushes that I use the most, so it's just like generating geometry via curve brushes. I put all those in a little section. These are all my sort of like pinch and moves, so like if I'm just like doing a kind of surface editing, you know, pulling apart or crushing together, that's what these kind of all do. These are my polish brushes, and again, these all do subtly different things, and I find that I typically don't. Yes, is that cereal that I didn't put that? I'm not sure what question is there, but anyway, so yeah, so like I actually use these brushes a lot, but when I have to dig for them, I tend to use them less than I should. Like when I gotta go dig for, you know, the orb polished extreme brush, it's like, oh, where is it? And it's like I just find myself wanting to move a lot faster than I can you know, dig in my brush palette for. So I've actually added a good amount of custom brushes there. So yeah, so like I've got the 4 polishes I use the most right here, and then of course I've got like H polish, which I use a lot, but that's on a hotkey, so I mean that's like my go-to polish brush. But the ones that are kind of a little more medium go-to, I don't use as often, I keep them down here, and then I can, you know, for the special times when I kind of need something more extreme, you know, there I go. So that's exciting because now I can kind of have access to everything at a click. And then these are all my surface brushes, so like Orb Flatten is another one I didn't really keep. You know, that's such a good brush, it's so useful, but I didn't keep it on my shelf because I didn't have room for it. Now it's just a part of my, you know, little bank down here. Trim Adaptive, Planar Flatten, this is a good one for like doing rocks and stuff. If you're kind of like just like evening it out, like you can get a lot of good jaggy detail and then like build upon that within itself, and then like I've seen a lot of artists use this for like really cool looking rock shapes. So yeah, that's like the Planar Flatten, which is awesome. Orb Rock Detail, Orb Line Detail. Orb is a really talented Blizzard environment artist. He's responsible for a lot of like the chunky environment art look over there. And this is another one of Shane Olson, like I said, the other Pixelogic streamer. He's got a nice little fill brush that works actually differently than like a typical clay brush. It kind of like, you know, I just got this brush and I love it. It like fills up. It like it'll like fill geo to the edge of like corners and stuff like that. So that's really useful as well. So I put all those down there, and then I also here's all my insert brushes and geometry brushes. So just, you know, useful ways to kind of quick grab some screws or grab some gears, grab some. This one's got a ton of stuff in it, just like typical tech detail stuff. You know, all this stuff comes in real handy when you're just kind of working out shapes and stuff, and then just like basic primitives, things like that. So yeah, I'm really excited. Like I say, I'm going to be pretty slow, I think, just based on the fact that this is a brand new UI, and I just kind of put it together last night. I'll probably be changing a lot of it. But yeah, that being said, I'm really enjoying it so far, and it's the extra real estate's kind of letting me work. I think ultimately letting me work faster. For now, I'm still trying to get used to it and forgetting where things are. All that being said, once again, if you go to my Gumroad page, you can get my old UI, which I had for all my other streams. The old UI is just like the 1080p one. So I put that, as well as my custom hotkeys, as well as my custom startup macros, things like that. All of that's on this Gumroad pin, so it's obviously free, and I'll use Gumroad to sort of share that stuff. So, oh, you know what, Index? Yeah, I forgot. I'm not going to be doing disc today. Jay and I have a bit of a plan for how we're going to be rolling out the new content, and so I'm going to come back to that at a later date. Not anything to do with this stream, of course, just something that I'm going to put on the shelf for now. I'm going to work more on the character skins and getting this guy ready for prime time. Hopefully that works. Yeah, and then you can get Shane's brushes from 3D Character Workshop. He's got a lot of cool stuff on that website, so. Okay, I think we're ready to get to work here. The main thing I'm like getting used to is that like it's actually, I'm like my keyboard is too far away. So like I'm like getting a bit of a workout just like holding my arms at like so far apart during the day. So it seems like the performance is okay. It's a little bit slower, I think, just due to streaming. I'm streaming at 1440p. I think next week I'll downsample it to 1080 just for the ease of my CPU. But it looks like it's chugging a little bit, so that's good to know. I think I could also probably close some applications here and get some cycles back. Close that, close this. Yeah, Vincent, this is a Stanton skin. The icon skins, as I mentioned last week, are sort of the more character transformative skins that kind of show a little bit of their character origins, communicate that a little bit more. So he's kind of like a pro wrestler dude. So like the main things I want to do today, I want to add sunglasses. I want to work on his knee pads. I'll probably do like different kind of wrestling shoes, knee pads, and maybe even elbow pads. If not, definitely I'll do the bracers. So just build up the uniform a little bit more. I can't decide on the tassels. I love the tassels in the default skin, but it might be overkill to have them in both. That being said, I kind of like them, so maybe they'll probably stick around. I think they break up the arm nicely. One thing about this skin is that it's very symmetrical right now, so I want to try and find ways to break up the symmetry. Don't really have any concrete ideas for how I'm going to do that just yet. But, maybe it's as simple as just doing a tattoo on his right arm. Maybe it's just simple as that. I don't know how much geo really makes sense to add to this. So, we'll see. Well, OBS, Effects Animator, OBS seems to be just fine. It's humming along, dropping 0 frames. It's actually ZBrush that's being a little chunky. I think it's just due, in fact, to the part that I've got 3 monitors. This is a 30-inch monitor, 27-inch, and now my new Cintiq's a 27-inch. So I've got so many monitors, and the streaming, I think, is just finally a little bit over the top. So the stream should be okay. Definitely let me know if there's an issue with the stream dropping frames, but according to OBS, the stream is humming along just fine. So, let me know if that changes. I know sometimes OBS can get crazy after a while. And like I said, the ZBrush UI, for anybody who wants it, is right there on that link. Alright, so I've got turn the edit scene off. No longer editing the scene, that should also help actually. Well, yeah, like official Sliker, I have like 2 keyboards as well. I have like my under desk one, and I have my external one over here. I'm still trying to find like a combination that makes sense. And I haven't like found a way that I'm comfortable to hit all my hotkeys and stuff. Just I'm still trying to figure it out, trying to get comfy with it. Well, I figure wouldn't the number of monitors matter because just pure CPU to just chug on everything, including the stream. I'm assuming it's CPU, but you know, who knows. Certainly should have plenty of VRAM and system RAM to handle everything. All right, so I guess why don't I start with sunglasses? I wanted to do those because I noticed I didn't get to that last week. And I figure I want to do something like those big, like dark black shades with the gold kind of bar at the top. Googling pictures of Biggie Smalls right now. These are the kind of glasses I want to do. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I've actually 3D printed Aspie. I've got this thing, which is pretty cool. It's this really, like, I love the feel of it, and it's got like a little joystick right here, like a positional hat, and like these two buttons here. It's really covers a lot, and you can switch what these are. But I don't know why. I tried to replace my keyboard with that gamepad. It's called the Orb Weaver. It's a Razer Orb Weaver. I tried to replace my keyboard with it, and I just couldn't do it. I reach all the way over to the I button for like my inflate brush. So I have like inflate and then alt inflate, and I have alt T and alt Y. And these are all things that like I use regularly enough, like trim smooth border. So I really need to get to like the I key, the T key, and I ran out of keys. And I think I even have all the way over to B and N, just B. So it's one of those things that like I just couldn't get enough use out of it. I use my tab key, I use all of this. So it's like these are all things that I would miss too much. So I ended up going back with the keyboard. Yeah, fixing. That's why I think it's like, yeah, I guess you're right about the getting everything rendered will be on the GPU, but. Yeah, so if you want to take a look at some other stuff, looks like I'm too sidetracked here. Bring up, let's go to the map. Some other stuff I've been working on is been building some discs on the stream for the game Disc Jam. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our game Disc Jam, but yeah, we been working on some discs on the channel, working on some building some like kind of cartoony junkyard discs. Been meaning to get back to a lot of these, but our schedule for when we release them has changed. So that's higher priority right now. I'm gonna work on the character skins, most of all. That's awesome. What are you Are you teaching animation, or are you teaching actual 3D art? Because then I feel bad because I'm actually getting to work it. Okay, so we're gonna be doing some sunglasses here. So why don't I just start building up some base geometry for this? kind of picturing more of like a flat bar kind of look than the rounded eyes. But it does look like this is what Biggie was wearing back in the day. Something like this more, you know. I think the round frames are a little bit more effeminate. So yeah, so I got a little bit of reference over here. I'm just gonna bang it out. Use Shane Olsen's brush here. Handy dandy. And I'll jump into Q Mesh. Chick image this again. Use Q modeler a little bit to get these in place.
Something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club.
Just looking at that makes me think the head's actually too rounded off. Seems like that. color profile on the Cintiq's coming in a little bit red. It's distracting me because I look at the poly paint. Yeah, that's much better. Not sure if that changes in your guys' image. I think it's just the display on my end, so if I don't see anything. Color space, WRGB. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, appreciate that. It's definitely exaggerated and kind of over the top and silly. I try to kind of push it as far as I can push it without being, too destructive and distracting. So it's it's always a trick, right? It's like taking a decently sound foundation and maintaining the believability of it while getting pretty over the top. The main thing I'm struggling with right now is that that's not matching the body, so I'm probably going to come back through and probably pick that at a later time. That's not really important right now. Right now, I just want to get some sunglasses on this guy. Switch back over to key mesh. Switch over to clip curve to align these edges again. This would be better if I do the bend after. See how the Q mesh just built that bridge right there? Because it's all symmetrical and it kind of knows, it just automatically connects those two together and get everything I need right there. Right now it's really just about getting everything lined up. And in just building these, I kind of noticed, like, you see how far the head tapers back right there? it's probably a little bit too pinheaded. Like he's supposed to have kind of a pinhead, like I made that on purpose. But like I probably want to pull this part of the head forward a bit. I want to do that without breaking the other low poly that I have though. So I'm gonna wait on that until I get an idea what this glass is gonna look like. I'm just getting a little bit some edge loops so I can deform this. And this is a nifty trick as well. If I hold Alt and move, it's going to take that as the origin and kind of taper it and tilt it around. So like hold Alt on the move for that transpose to kind of wrap around the head like that. And even though it's like probably a little too far there, it looks like it's going to work for what I'm after. Do I want like the ear things to kind of go out on the little strap there? Yeah, definitely want to do like the transpose things you can do. I think I have a little bit of a sheet here, and these are all taken from the ZBrush forums. But yeah, you can like hold on one second here. Let me see if I can break this out. I gave myself little notes. These are all from ZBrush Central, and it just kind of shows, you know, move mode with Alt what you do based on which dot you're clicking, right? So it's like really helpful, just infographics about, you know, what you can do to certain types of geometry. And then there's scale, which does like, you know, you can like bulge the middle side, you can taper the edges, you can scale like this thing's really interesting over here, where you can like have it like flay out. So there's a lot of things you can do. Rotating with just like that edge right there is pretty useful as well. It's good to just you know, experiment with those and play with them, because like if you can recall them while you're working, that's the tricky part, right? It's like it's easy to kind of see and digest those things, but if you can recall them when you're in the moment, that's super useful, and it's a lot more helpful. And that's also the hard part, like, you know, having the memory to like, oh, you know what, no, it works here, this, like, that's always kind of tricky. But yeah, I tend to keep a OneNote. Anytime I see a method that I like, I throw in my OneNote. And that helps you remember, because anytime you write something down or copy, you know, the text of something, it's going to stick with you a little bit longer. But also, it's there's just too much to remember anyway. So if I ever see a method, or I know that I need something, like, oh, well, I think I wrote something about this, or like, you know, not wrote, but like, I think I got something down at some point about this. thin this thing out a little bit. This operation will work along its normals, so. Shoot, just gonna hit any of them. Looking for a rough, decent fit. I think that's about okay. What's up, Specky Nation? A good thing to do, there's a lot of like contests out there. Like, if you just go like 3D challenge, if you're looking for something to model, like if you're like, oh, I need some inspiration now, just Google 3D challenge, and like, you know, there's so many different websites that offer challenges to people, and that's a really good way to kind of like, oh, you know what, it'll give you an idea like right away almost. Poly, single poly. I don't know how to get all this selected. Select all those faces. Sometimes I like to just mask a few points. I know when I want things to be in a straight line that aren't, I'll just mask off a few points and then do a clip curve, so it'll only affect those points and just guarantee everything's in a straight line. Yeah, speculation. That always works too. It's just like, let me just pull around a ball of clay and see how far I get with it. That's kind of, I can very easily get lost in the rabbit hole doing that, and I really enjoy it. Finding some shapes. I got like a bunch of Z tools saved. They're just like, I was messing around one day. I'm probably never gonna finish it, but I don't want to abandon it because I actually like what it is. Like one's like a bowling ball, but it's like got an eyeball and all these body parts coming out of it. And it's just like turned into this like weird little robot with organic elements popping out of it. And I was like, this is such a useless little sketch, but I spent a little bit of time on it. I like it. One thing that I really like to do a lot in terms of sourcing inspiration is a lot of these challenges go redesign some video game element. So like challenges will be about like, you know, redesign the Temple of Time from Zelda, or redesign redesign the like redesign a character like Guile, someone like really iconic, you know, like I love doing those kinds of challenges, or just so like, you know, when you kind of read through them and they're like, oh well, there's just so many ideas here. Redesigns are a good way to just like doing a fan art with a redesign is a good way, a really good way. A really good way to kind of draw inspiration. This is a rough shape I'm going to work with. Pull this area back a little bit more. Move points by brush radius with infinite Y is another good tool. It just kind of will grab everything that's below it. Just kind of be a little bit more, do a little more subtle tweaks. Decent curve, decent base mesh, kind of the proportions I'm going to use. Probably going to trim that off and do like a little rounded edge over there. I'll probably do some more, you know, kind of curvy stuff now that I got this base mesh here. But since this is a solid base, I'm probably what I typically intend to do. Is I'll save off the low poly, and then I'll start adding some subdivisions and maybe even dynamesh it and start getting it, you know, a little bit more fleshed out around those glasses edges a little bit more. Let me pull that thing down a little bit. Yeah, Shane Olsen's last video was really good. I caught that too. Like he showed just like, he actually uses this brush right here, which I just added to my shelf, to just do kind of appendages, you know, and then start sculpting those into place and adding some spheres at the end of those. There's an elbow joint, and then boom, here's another, you know, there's an arm right there, and you would just push those around. He has a really, if anybody hasn't checked out Shane Olsen's last, he's one of the Pixologic instructors. He did a really good stream recently on all that. fighting with the beard. Be smart about how I combine that geo right there with the beard I want to do. I should pull his ear out a little bit. Hey, what's up, Ashley? Ashley streams yesterday. She streams the day before me. She streams on Wednesday, so you can see right there, 8 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, like hers, I tend to jump in Ashley streams more than the other instructors because it just works out a lot better for my schedule. She has a really cool characters. So let's see here. Some more. So I'm going to duplicate this off just in case I want to return to that one. This one, group by normals, increase polygroup. Increase all, increase polygroup. There we go. Let's get some interference there. Looks correct. Probably want to increase these two. I'll just give myself a little bit of geometry to play with. Increase 3 times, then I'll uncrease. I get a nice little bevel there. I'll do a little Dynamesh. Deciding if I want this to taper. Basically aligning the clip curve brush so I can do a nice taper on this thing. I'll just mirror it across. down. I'll probably do a little move elastic here to round that off as well. Trusty Shane Olsen brush. Another cube for right here. Where's my Biggest Balls reference? There it is. That'll be like a little kind of some kind of gold plating thing right there. Wow, my mic's been muted that whole time, huh guys? Sorry everybody. I'm over here talking to you guys, telling you what's up, responding to the chat. You know, doing my best to be a good host. Sorry folks. Welcome back. What's up Ashley? I said hi to you. Oh, what copy? Dodo, I'm sure. What are you talking about, dude? Dodo. No, Deb's website won't work. Yeah, no, his website's down right now. It looks like, but you know, those you just bookmark it. I'm sure it'll come back up for too long. Let me get these things out of here. That should be all the Dynamesh. Get everything back. There we go. I'll just polish that out. These are Dynamesh, a little bit chunky. But that's fine. I just really want to kind of use that to get the shape that I want right now. Yeah, I said hi to everybody already. Oh, such a dummy. And anybody who's like, you know, followed our Disc Jam, I got dev stream on our Disc Jam channel, that's like not the first time that's happened, nor will it be the last. The main thing I was saying is using a little bit of elastic, move elastic to get the basic shapes. Like I already kind of have the low poly saved off. Now I kind of higher resolution Dynamesh so I can, you know, move some of this around. You know, they each have their challenges, low poly and high poly. And when you have too many, you know, it's hard to get nice fall off and curves when you're working with too many pixels or too much resolution. But it also lets you do some of that organic stuff. Like I want to do those curves, and I want to now work on the curve right here a little bit, and that just works better if you're not trying to also maintain your exact low resolution as well. So I'm going to round that off here. Oops. Probably a little bit of trim dynamic on that. Just round that shape off a little bit. It doesn't look very pretty right now, but it doesn't matter because I can clean it up a little bit. I just want it to be nice and curved. I'm gonna these are all gonna need to become low poly anyway, so I'm gonna need to come back through and straighten them up anyway. So that obviously needs to be a straight line as well. So I'll come through here, just do a quick clip curve. Now it's straight. Right to about that point. Straighten that out. But yeah, Index, you asked about how they're going to be unlocked. These are going to be legendary skins. We are going to make some changes to the unlock flow of things. So like, you know, these will be legendary skins, much like the metal skins. But they'll just be a little bit more transformative, a little bit kind of a bigger deal, so to speak. I don't even much care that this is like getting pulled apart from its like the outer edge being longer than the inner edge doesn't really bother me all that much, because specifically I'm gonna come through and like just draw some topology on top of it, so it doesn't really matter all that much. It's just really I want to kind of just find the silhouette, find the shape, get some nice curves and bevels to it. It's actually a good time to snake hook brush probably. Like these little kind of like just, you know, subtle curves here and there are a lot easier to do. Like that's kind of how the glasses I'm looking at in my reference look. It's just easier to do something like that when you have a little bit of extra geometry to play with. And then you can dynamesh that out, smooth out those points, round it off a little bit. And then, you know, like I'm gonna come back through and get low poly geometry out of all of this at the end of the day, and I'll like specifically hand tailor my low poly to this shape that I found. So that's gonna be the kind of like just sort of gold thing on the side there. I probably want to do like some element of the lenses. I'm not trying to separate the lens from the shades now, from the plastic. Dude, I do Dodo. I do both. I tend to do as much low poly and ZBrush as I can, just for the purposes of trying to stay in one place. But then I'll jump back over, and I use Maya for the Maya update 3 added so many good features for the retopology toolset. It's a little bit more aligned with other 3D DCC tools now, thankfully. So I use if I had a go-to topology thing, I would just run over to Maya, especially now with the new updates. It's a lot faster. But I tend to stick with ZBrush. Like if I were gonna do this right now, I'd probably drop in a Z-sphere. I've done this a few times on channel, but let's do it quickly because it takes 2 seconds. Drop in a Z-sphere, go down to edit topology, and then just get to drawing. And then it's just like doo-doo-doo. So a lot of times when I'm doing something like this, it's like I'll just get the high poly look that I want. And like move brush works here as well, so I can move it whenever I like, if I'm in a bad place or I have, you know, bad spacing. You just like, the key is just like, I try to be fast and loose, and then like, if you keep things pretty broad stroke, you can get yourself 90% of the way there. I'm a big believer in that. That's why the whole rapid content iteration is like how I feel about game dev art. You know, for better or for worse, it's like, certainly don't build throwaway work, but if you can build, if you have time, sorry, if you don't have time, which who has time, you know, getting yourself 90% of the way there, finding out what's not going to work and what is going to work, and just failing quickly is what I'm all about. So like, you know, something like that. And then I've already kind of got a strip there where you know, you start kind of seeing where the topology is going to be. So with something like this, it's just it won't take very much to do the low poly in ZBrush. Like once I figure it out what I'm going to be doing, you know, it's pretty likely I'll be in ZBrush doing these strips, and then I'll fill out the eyes, you know, round off the curves in the way that the high poly geo makes sense, and then, you know, I'll have some low poly geo to work with, and that's already game resolution ready, and I'll UV it. I'll probably UV it in ZBrush because I can just do the polygroups UV with the UV master, and then boom, like I have it a UV low poly UV ready for texture. And I've also, because I made this in ZBrush, I have the high poly detail behind it that I can then project in my texturing application. So, you know, I try to stay in ZBrush as much as possible just because I can do it all in here, and it all moves along pretty fast. So another key tool in the artist toolbox is some kind of Zamboni or monitor squeegee for getting all the grime and stuff off of there. Pro 3D designer. Well, it depends because, like, you know, how to practice. Yeah, I think just to give more kind of broad theory, just try to finish pieces. Like the key is you can look at all the tutorials you want, you can do all the practicing you want. You're not gonna digest what you need to learn unless you're just really digging into, like, how am I going to finish this character? How am I going to finish this environment prop? How am I going to finish this rock and texture it? Like the best advice I got was from a character artist in at Neversoft, and I was a programmer. I didn't do any character art, but I was just like really interested in it, and I always talked to these guys about just like advice. And the advice he gave me was just that like finish something, and then like just like get something finished. Like okay, this is finished, and then drop it, put it aside, do the next thing, finish, like continually finish pieces, and they're just gonna get better and better and better. How long that takes you, I mean, that's a pretty tough thing to sort of assess, because it takes everybody a different amount of time, right? Like, I don't know if I learned quickly or slowly. I'm really actually not aware of how I stack up in that regard. Let me delete this geometry here. Okay, delete that geo, get back to the sunglasses. How long it takes people is really variable. It's not. I mean, the key is just don't get discouraged. Like these things are not easy. These tools are incredibly. What on earth just happened? This thing's wigging out of her save. Don't crash on me, please don't crash. I think I just ran into a crash. I don't think I've saved in a while. Tablet gloves, yeah, actually, I have one of those right here. I got one of those these little tablet glove thingies. All I found is that just is a hand warmer that just causes more sweat and stuff to leak through. It sure does seem like this is going to crash and it's not going to recover. So there goes that. I hope I got a nice autosave because I don't remember the last time I saved. So yeah, hopefully it's helpful. Cane ratio, like it's hard to say how long it'll take you. Looks like that looks pretty good actually. It looks like the 3D strips are there, which they are. Nice. Okay, that wasn't too bad. My UI is all saved. Topology is still there. I got lucky on that one. I think I might have just saved right before I started playing with that stuff. Alright, let's delete the Z-sphere. Let's get back to business here. But yeah, because like, you know, there's a lot of places you want to start, which are like, just get yourself familiar with the application. Learn the way that extrudes and bevels and you know, quad draw, and like learn all the things that application does. 3ds Max and 3D and Maya have different ways about, you know, handling polygons versus NURBS and curved surfaces. Just get familiar with it. And the only way you're gonna get familiar with it is to build stuff. And you're gonna be like, well, I don't know how to build stuff. How can I just build stuff? It's not that easy. I need to know how. Right. So like the thing you want to do is this, you know, go to like 80.lvl, like 80 level. Go to 80 level and just watch how people. Actually, that's probably a little bit too high level. That's a little bit more like industry professional stuff. Go to the subreddits for Maya and Max. Go to like cgsociety.com. Like go to places. Go to buy a membership to CG Circuit. They have really good stuff on CG Circuit. The instructors there are excellent. It's a subscription that you can afford. It's pretty cheap, and you know, just work through some of them. And like the way I learned how to do ZBrush, not so much like the very first time I learned how to do ZBrush is I got one of the instructor's tutorials. Eat 3D. One of our other instructors, Michael Pavlovich, is like the reason I know how to do this stuff. And he did a tutorial years ago that I had. I'm just trying to find it because it's amazing. Yeah, this one. Character production in ZBrush. So like that right there is Michael Pavlovich. It was one of our other instructors. He's an amazing instructor. He has a lot of free materials. His YouTube channel right now is full of free materials. And he doesn't just do ZBrush, but his ZBrush stuff is like really excellent. Like it's really in depth. And he goes from beginner level to production level. Like he's like, here's beginner level stuff. Here's how you just do base meshes. Here's how you do sculpting basics. All the way through to his workflow. Like if I was making a production level character right now, or a production level weapon, whatever he's working on, he will take you through it and annotate what he's doing and why he's doing it the entire way. That was how I learned from knowing nothing. That's like the first thing I learned was ZBrush. Like I had ZBrush 3 and I got that DVD and I just sat there and I built that exact character. I think it's probably sitting on my hard drive somewhere. Like I built that exact character side by side with Pavlovich as he did it. Like he would be, you know, working a lot faster than me, like just naturally chopping up the geometry, and like I worked a lot slower than him. It was my first character ever, but I would pause the video at the angle he was at, then I would make whatever he had, like I would make whatever I was doing like what he had on screen. So I would just like chisel away until it looked like what he had. And then, you know, that character didn't come out so great. My next one came out a lot better. My next one after that came out a lot better. Then, you know, like 5, 6, 7, 10 characters down the line, now like I'm pretty comfortable doing production level characters. And it's just a matter of mileage and getting, you know, your time put in. So if you wanted to start ZBrush, start mimicking other artists, and Pavlovich is a good place to start because he'll tell you why he's doing things as he's doing them, and he's really good at just saying like, here's my shortcuts for this. I think my shortcuts are still, I think the shortcuts he has in that video. Alt W is move, Alt S is standard, Alt D is damn standard, and then Alt C is clay, Alt V is clay tubes. All the things that I do, I've been doing since that video, because like he was already production level, I was just starting out. It was important for me to kind of learn from somebody who's operating at a professional level already. So that's how I got into the point where I could do this on my own. And then in the meantime, I've since grown to the point where like, okay, now I kind of have a little bit more autopilot, and I've changed my hotkeys around to what suits me. I have my like quick saves and my different, you know, shortcuts, and I've built my brush library that I like. That all just comes with like time and learning what I like to do and learning what works for me, or realizing the views and stuff that I want to do. So you got to find that for yourself, but that takes time. Obviously, you're just going to need to put in mileage. So when you're talking about, you know, going into 3ds Max versus Maya, you know, there's a lot of artists out there who do, I'm going to build a full next gen weapon in Max or Maya, you know, and they'll sit there and they'll take a nice high quality concept and they'll just start modeling it. You know, I think a good place to start is to get a quality concept off the ArtStation. Go find a concept that's not too complicated, a good 2D concept from a 2D artist. A lot of times they'll put their turnarounds, like they'll put their orthographic views, like get the head view with no perspective, front, side, and maybe even top. And then there's a billion tutorials out there on how to just like box model around the edges, and that'll kind of get you comfortable with the stuff that's going on inside of Max, and the way that like you can take a cube and make it into like a T-shaped rectangle and start like putting the arms in and start like cutting in where the pecs would be, and like you start putting edge loops and understanding geometry and creating geometry that fits. That's a good way to learn those applications. Just like get in there and fail, get in there and get confused. You know, there's going to be answers to your questions. There's going to be all the information you could ever possibly need to get started doing this stuff is out there. You don't need to go to school for it. Going to school for it certainly helps, because you get a teacher looking over your shoulder saying, here's how this works, now you do it. That's a lot faster than learning yourself. But like for the most part, you know, a $10 a month, $20 a month subscription to some of these tutorial websites will get you all the information you need, and you can be self-taught. Like, I'm 100% self-taught. I asked a lot of advice from artists that were at my company, but I didn't do anything professionally ever in my career. I like just in my spare time learned as much art as I could possibly learn, and now it's like I have my kind of whole pipeline in place where I can do all the animation, do all the sculpting, do all the texturing, do all the low-res modeling, do all the high-res modeling. You know, I decided that I wanted to learn Marvelous Designer, so I got to trial install of that and learn Marvelous Designer. Like, you gotta just constantly just be getting better, and then, you know, check back in a year and a half, and you'll probably be doing some really cool stuff. Like, it doesn't take that long. It certainly doesn't happen overnight, but if you dedicate yourself to it, I mean, 6 months in, if you're doing it every day, 6 months in, you'll be producing some really good stuff, I bet. So hopefully that's helpful. Write down the sites. Yeah, here's a few good sites that I think. Also, if you want to learn ZBrush, just go to Z Classroom. Like this, if you want to learn this application, which is kind of what this channel is for and what this stream is for, just go there. I mean, there's all kinds of amazing free resources there, and they just show you how to do everything. And Mike Pavlovich does stuff there, and the other people are contributing as well. And then this place, of all the like kind of websites that offer something similar, I've really enjoyed the information here on CG Circuit. I've purchased some of their tutorials, and they're just very high quality. The artists are really good, and they go through everything, and they also go through a lot of theory, like why do you topologize this way? Why do you, so like, you know, you'd want to dig into your specific thing. And then Pluralsight is pretty good too. Pluralsight, they have just a great volume, and their subscriptions are pretty affordable. So you know, I think they're a little bit more intro level. Like, so you like might want to like, you know, start there maybe. But all of these things give you trials. All of these lesson sites give you introductory purchase prices. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's get back to work here. Reginator, what's happening? Thanks for checking it out. Getting a little sidetracked here because I can talk about this stuff all day. You have that tutorial, Bubs? Yeah, that was a great one because it was just like, I didn't see work that good in ZBrush before I saw that tutorial. I was like, oh, he made this? That's amazing. So, Blands, my approach to animation. I am a huge fan of Motion Builder. Motion Builder is just, it's like a dedicated, it's definitely part of the Autodesk subscription package. So it comes with Maya if you do the entertainment packages we have, but like, it's just dedicated for animation only. So you can certainly do a lot of the rigging and stuff like that, but it's like, it's just a humanoid animation pipeline software. So Motion Builder is how I handle the animation, and I do basically a combination of motion capture as well as hand animation. So, you know, for all the throws, I pretty much animated most of those by hand. But for some of the throws, I got some motion capture of like attack motions, and then like I'll use that to kind of set up the timing. And as long as the timing and the weight is there, I can then like turn that into a frisbee toss versus like a, you know, maybe an axe swing, for example. So I kind of mix those things up, and that's how I get to the animation for Disc Jam. And you know, it's about 50 to 60 animations per character. I animated all of them, so it's a lot of work, and it's like a lot of the animations aren't as pretty as I would like. But again, it's like, it's all about iteration. It's all about getting to the point where this is working, it sells the concept, and I can polish it up later when I have more time. But if I tried to polish every animation to be, you know, Pixar quality with just all the, you know, proper finished polish I would like to have done, we never would have shipped the game on time. So you got to kind of return to those things. That's why, like, you know, Stanton's face is getting a little upgrade, and he looks a lot different. He's got this beard, he's got a new haircut, and now I'm doing all these upgrades to Stanton. You know, I didn't have time to, I don't have like the 10 hours I'm going to put into this character to get him, you know, looking a lot better than I had at ship. You know, at ship he looked like this. You know, that's actually from a different model, and you know, you're like this looks better, but that's actually from a different model, and the proportions are a little bit different than I wanted. He's a little bit more, you know, brutish and like battle worn. That's not really Stanton's look at all. So that's kind of why we're making this change. I didn't like the shoulders where they ended up. The neck muscles are all kind of ridiculous. So that's why we're doing something like this, where it's like still ridiculousness, still exaggerated, but a little bit more like bodybuilder-ish and you know, pro wrestler look, a little more stern-faced, you know. So like, you know, those are the kind of things where it's like you kind of you got to basically budget your time so that, you know what, some things fall by the wayside, but they can be returned to. That's kind of how we prioritize all that stuff. Yeah, Reginator, I got a 27-inch now, so my UI is totally different, and I'm still kind of getting the hang of everything because like I like spent a lot of time last night setting up a new UI, and I'm still getting the hang of it. But like, yeah, I'm really enjoying it a lot. Yeah, Linda's good too for entry level stuff. I don't have many of those, but yeah. Yeah, dude, Dodo, there's more and more. This wasn't really true 10-15 years ago, but there's so much more free resources now. And I think due in large part to the fact that people want to be, people want to promote their channel. So a lot of artists are promoting their stuff by giving away stuff. And like, they want to promote their art, so they like do a free tutorial. That gets a little bit of traction. All of a sudden they're getting job offers. Like, you know, guys who do breakdowns, you know, I was just speaking to a really talented artist, Rodrigo Gonclaves is an amazing artist who I've been following for a while because his breakdowns are so good, like how to do things in ZBrush and how to do things in 3ds Max and blah, blah. I've been following his art for a while. So I was talking to him about it, and he's like, you know, a big part of just him getting work has been the fact that he does these amazing breakdowns and people discover how good an artist he is because he like creates some instructional material, puts it in the wild. Um, so a lot of that stuff, that's kind of a new thing that wasn't around when I was trying to learn all that much. Like it was like, you know, like literally the best way I learned was just like watching someone sculpt and then trying to do it side by side with them. And then I started like realizing, oh man, like my move brush is doing the wrong thing here. Like what makes it, okay, if I do that and make it smaller, okay, let me increase the fall off and I'll do it a little bit differently. And then you start kind of finding out where those things are that you like. And the more you get from other people, the more you start kind of understanding yourself and becoming independent. And then that's kind of the path you gotta take. So let me go to my mask, my lazy mask brush. Where's his actual eyes? His eyes are right there, so I think I can probably... That's pretty good. Yeah, Fo, this is the icon skin for Stanton. So he's kind of like his like native pro wrestler kind of. All the icon skins are sort of like their origin skins, like the kind of character they are. The Disc Jam skins are like just, you know, athletic attire for the arena. That's like what their Disc Jam skins are. But their icon skins are like, what's their personality, what's their background. It's like Stan's like this pro wrestler, right? It's all about glamour and just like certain kinds of badassery. So that's kind of his whole vibe. So this is like that skin is this. So it'll be a legendary skin for him. Dude, what field? That's a good place to start. What field? Character art, character modeling. You know, I've never hired for that area. You know, obviously a strong portfolio. I mean, like, to be honest, I'll tell you right now though, you know, from as far as like making the difference, this is something that people don't really talk about all that often. And this is like one of the most true things about the industry, games industry specifically. I've never worked in film. This is true about games. Games are so interdisciplinary. You need to understand all parts of the pipeline. That is to say, you don't need to be an animator. You don't need to be a character artist and an animator. I mean, a lot of character artists don't do rigging. They just do the character art and then the texturing, and that's like where their responsibility ends. That's fine. The key, though, is that understanding the whole pipeline is a big advantage. So it's like, if you look at guys like Gilberto Magno, like the thing that makes this guy's work so good is the fact that he kind of understands all of it. So like you need to understand why you do low poly geo that works for animators. You know, like you gotta understand where the deformation goes. Like here's a character he did for Game Ready, and like understanding, like not only is the art very good, but it's not his concept. He worked off of a 2D concept by a guy called Dean Holdeen. So like he worked off of Dean's concept to like get the overall art look, and he just had to model and recreate that drawing. So like, you know, there's a lot of skill involved in just that. Like if you're building a portfolio, don't try to do your own 2D stuff, because there's 2D artists that are so good. Might as well, you're not going to be doing that stuff in studio anyway. You're going to be working on someone else's concept likely. So there's just a lot of people out there who like they get to the level where they understand the whole concept, and that's a really big part to, like, you know, that makes a difference for a lot of people who are hiring people. Like here's a really good example. This guy is an amazing artist. That guy right there, Simon Ma. Like he has he goes through his whole process there, where he's like, I'm just going to get reference. I'm going to do some sketches. I'm going to build out the vehicle. I'm going to build a low poly. I'm going to build out the here's how I did my hair strands. Here's how I did, you know, the base mesh. Here's how I did her clothes. He builds all that up, gets the feeling for it, and then like also rigs and, you know, does a low poly, does the game shaders, and then rigs the character and puts it in engine as a complete ready game character. I mean, if you wanted to get into game character art, you like should be able to at least not necessarily do all of that. Like he did the 2D concept all the way through to the rigging. You know, that's, you know, the whole pipeline. You know, you don't need to do all of that to be like a professional character artist. Many don't do any of that, but you at least want to know how to do the model through the textures. And you also got to understand, why is my low poly topology and my baking and my normal maps so important? It's because you need to be optimized to run inside the game. So they need to, you know, when I lift my shoulder, there needs to be edge loops here that like follow the geometry well. So if I go like that, the bicep will deform in a correct manner. Those are the things you need to understand. And like I was saying before, those all come from experience and just like failing. And like every lesson learned is, every failure is a lesson learned. And that's going to help you like get to understanding. Like if you got an interview, you know, a good portfolio will get your foot in the door, but you got to be able to understand the game art pipeline to get that job. So those are the things you really kind of want to know. You know, I can't speak for film. You know, maybe just like being a legit character modeler can get you on a film set or into the CG world. I don't know, but for games, it's really about pipeline, and I would suspect it's probably similar to in film. So. Zoc, are you asking what program this is? This is ZBrush. So now I've just extracted the shades. What I'll probably do is now just polish this. And then I'll do a little Z remesher here. I'll get this low poly geometry. I just moved or just like moved everything. Okay, here it is. Little polish operation, smooth it out. And then I got some nice lenses, and these will be a different shader anyway. I also put the visibility tools up here. So I just did like a select lasso to mask the outside edges. Then I did a control tap to make a little fall off there. Now they kind of bulge out. You see how they bulge out now? That's all I wanted to do. And then I unmasked the edge and did an inflate operation. Specky Nation, it doesn't. I mean, like, it doesn't kill. Like, I mean, like, with humans, I tend, like, you kind of want to have the perspective on, because your eyeball will be more used to picking up humans in perspective versus not. What the hell's that noise? Oh. But I tend to do orthographic because I like the lack of perspective for making sure things are, you know, the distances from each other I think they should be. My thought at the moment is that I wanted to put like one of those big giant like gold bars on the front of the thing, but actually the more I look at it, the more I realize I kind of liked it better like this. And those will just be the frames, and I'll put the gold on the side right there. Maybe I'll do like a gold, some kind of like wrap on the front of it right there. Is the default perspective that high? I think maybe it's just because I stored my config as something else, but I'm pretty sure it's lower than that. But I think it just might be me. What's mine at? Mine's 50. I work at like 45 is like what we kind of do a lot of our like shoots at. 50 is a good like. Because when I turn perspective, I want to see a little bit of distortion. I mean, like even then, it's like. How much is really there? It's like not a ton at all. Kind of prefer a little more, to be honest. Let me see. Yeah, honestly, I think it's actually a little bit better at 90 because like. Even at 50, which is a little bit too high, it's not enough distortion to kind of see. I prefer more distortion when I'm using perspective. Like, there's clearly a lot of distortion there, perspective distortion, and I prefer that. No, I prefer 90. To be honest, but I think I was working at 50. Weird. Custom views are centered on the origin. Okay. Alright, so that's the longest I've ever taken to build crappy sunglasses. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes talking and not doing a lot of modeling, but they're there. And they fit around his ear. They fit the shape of his head. If anything, they clued me in that his head's a little too narrow in the front here. You can kind of see it now that I look at it. That's why it's always important to like look at your model in the round, which means like just always be kind of moving around it and checking it out in 3D space. Having perspective on for that is usually helpful. It's clear that I made his head too narrow, even though I meant to make his head kind of narrow. Like the reference I looked at, like Mr. T's head kind of like comes to like a bit of a pin at the top. Like I wanted to exaggerate that pinheadedness. But it kind of does taper in too much right here. So I think I'll probably end up having to adjust that. But the eyes fit. And, you know, working broad stroke is really important for this stage. So I think the next two things I want to do, I want to work on these bracers, and I want to give them different shoes. So why don't we start there? I do a little coding, but not much. Like Jay and I basically do 90-10. Like when Jay and I were working at Activision, we were both engineers 100% of the time. But Jay was working on, in Jay's spare time, he was trying to become a better engineer. In my spare time, I was trying to become a better artist. And so when we finally joined forces, we found that we actually had a great deal of overlapping, or not overlapping, sorry, but complementary skill sets. Thankfully, too, that worked out great because, you know, that enables us to sort of like let the other do what he's doing and not get in the way of one another. So I've basically transitioned to full-time art, and it's basically 100% what I'm doing all the time. And it's about 90-10. Like Jay will come and we'll author some shaders together, and Jay will put together a really badass shader for something we want to do in game. Because he's still like a graphics guy, even though he's an engineer. He like knows his graphics inside and out, and he's like a really, really brilliant graphics guy. So like, you know, he'll build some really efficient but cool-looking shaders, and then, you know, I'll go in when there needs to be some code changes that, you know, don't require a lot of technological, you know, I'm not really in there rewriting systems or anything, but like we just made a change the way our lob system works, and you know, that's a very simple change. Like I'm still able to read and execute code, so I still have those chops. I can still jump in. Like I made the code change for fixing the lobs this weekend for our last patch because, you know, Jay's busy and it didn't take me but 15 minutes to do that. So I'd like to get back into the engineering a little bit more, to be honest. So we're excited to be bringing some more artists online pretty soon here. All right, so I got some reference for wrestling boots. I'm gonna bring that up right now. That depends Reginator depends entirely on the platform. If you're talking mobile, you probably want to be in like the 5 to 10,000 range. You know, mobile chips these days are a little bit stronger. If you're talking PlayStation 3, the heaviest games back in the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 days, like the heaviest characters, like I'm thinking about like Rise, when Rise was on previous gen, those are like 50 to 60,000 polys. Now you see a lot of characters these days that are like north of 90 to 110,000 polys, and they just LOD very aggressively. And you know, we tend to stick around in the anywhere from 30 to 60,000 polys. For the more basic, it's around 30 to 50. For the more complex characters, it gets up to like 60, maybe even 70. But a modern console, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they can handle characters up to like 80 to 100,000. Not too many of them, but like you know, that's amount. You have plenty of room with vertex count there. Fally 3D, I don't actually have an art station. Like I kind of mentioned before, I haven't really been doing professional art at all in my career, so I don't really have any of this stuff shared anywhere. Other than the game Disc Jam, it's basically the only place where I've got stuff kind of posted in the game. I've been meaning to get some of that stuff together. It just hasn't been a priority. You know, shipping the game has been our #1 thing so far. So unfortunately, it's kind of where all my time's been going. So I wanted to do like kind of more like, I found some really cool boots. They're like wrestling boots, WWE, and like the kind of newer boots these guys have are less like the existing boot where it's like, you know, straps and laces. A lot of the newer boots are kind of more interesting, where you kind of see, where's some ones I found that I really liked. They're like this, where they're like just really kind of almost future tech-ish sort of things. Like they remind me of snowboard boots almost, where it's like they kind of just have fastening, and you know, I think like some of these are just kind of like zipped together. Where's the one I found that I really liked? So yeah, I'm gonna kind of browse around a little bit and like try to incorporate some of the newer types of wrestling boots for the Sans Icon skin, and then as well as you know, add some knee pads and like these kind of thigh guards that these other guys have. Like here's Kofi Kingston's boots. Like those are like there's no laces. Those are all pretty. Like they all match his outfit. So I'm gonna be something along those lines. I'm not quite settled on it. Like Booker T's boots are pretty sweet. Like maybe it's an opportunity to do some. Like that's kind of the look I'm actually going for here. It's like I kind of want there to be, you know, like knee pads popping out of the boots, and then, you know, like the boots themselves are kind of just like strapped in, and you know, custom designs for the character. I'll actually probably pin this just so I have this. It's always good to have a reference board. If people aren't using that as part of their workflow, it's very helpful because you can just like collect reference, keep an eye on things, and help you with your help you author stuff a little bit faster. Ultimate Warrior's boots are awesome. So let's start with some boots. So one thing I do know is that his previous boots are the right size. That is to say, the skeleton matches up with them. So that's important because I'm not going to change the skeleton around. This is just a character skin, but the animation of the skeleton is going to remain the same. So I'll keep them in place for now, and then what I'll do is I'll start building on top of them. This is Shane Olsen's brush once again that I'm really enjoying. You know, and then just drop it into place, start scaling it around. Be nice and loose with it. Split unmasked points. Throw transparency on so I can see this thing. Drop it in a Dynamesh, and I'm able to sort of just play around further with it. I'm always ready with a clip curve just to like saw off the shoe sole. Make sure it has like a nice ground floor. Well, yeah, I mean Booker T is like definitely part of the inspiration, for sure. Valley. Like it's definitely like meant to be sort of like 80s style and like, you know, tough guy, wrestler guy. He's like Booker T mixed with like Clubber Lang, you know, mixed with like our already existing kind of goofy character who's like pretty silly. If anybody's not played our game, anybody who's not played our game, like it's pretty goofy, tongue-in-cheek, over the top, and like Stanton's a real goofball. Like he has this like silly dance that he does, one of many silly dances he does, and we actually have more silly dances we're going to add for him. So just doing a little bit of clay tubes, just sort of like bring in the shapes. Are you, hold on a second. This is Fally. This is a game model. So this is actually a model from our game. This is like going to be one of the skins for one of our game characters. So I think I want to do like boots that cut off about here. There's only a half pepperoni left? So yeah, this is always nice when I have like another model that I've already worked up enough that I know the proportions are correct. Oh, it's yeah, it's called Disc Jam. Here's the link. A little arcade action sports game made by two guys. It's pretty cartoony. Ashley, I mean to ask you, do you share the same reservations about Matcap Red Clay as you do Matcap Red Wax? I think they both have that kind of cavity thing going on. Oh, not as bad though if you look. Like, see that those big white hot spots right there are kind of missing from this. Wondering what you thought about that. Let's get some big over-the-top knee pads. Red wax gives me hives. That's amazing. I think this red clay is what they use on the default Dynamesh project. Split on mass points. Say no to red wax. So these would be like kind of like oversized knee pads, similar to kind of some of the wrestler like decorated knee pad stuff. I might even like do tassels on this that kind of be all flowy. Transparency. Yes, like this is a good example. That's kind of like the type of thing, right? Where it's like there's this tall kind of boot, no laces, they're kind of like all either strapped in or kind of slip on, but they have some branding holding it all together, and then these big oversized knee pads pop out. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking. Right up to the knee. That'll actually look better anyway. It's like big old tall boot. Drop a little inflate on it. Let's give myself more geo than I need. Let me just start tightening up. Cutting this thing up and doing some more interesting stuff on it. Some cool trim. I'm just gonna focus on one half of this thing. I'll mirror it all over after. Oh, whoops. Just Hope somebody can remind me to. Yeah. Now the most dangerous thing when I do this is that I'm going to forget that I've turned off symmetry mode, then I'll return to the other thing and I'll start modeling on it and I will screw myself. So watch out for that.
Never thought that we'd go this far. Don't stop now. Reaching for a distant star. Don't stop now. Isn't it strange how we're safe and home? Together counting days until the second go. If you're gonna make a change, you have to let me know. Turn this shit around, start it up beyond.
Big thing about working in sculpting is like it's ugly for a long time until it's not ugly. Like there's so many, when you're in the early stages and things are so gross looking, it's really easy to get discouraged. I feel like this looks like crap. Then all of a sudden you push these things around and you're like, oh, it looks okay. You start looking at a few different angles and you realize, oh, just speed that out and it'll start to resemble something. Thanks for the reminder, just saved. Because this character is like kind of got rotated legs, it's not in a T-pose. It's actually a little bit trickier because you can't just like snap to your orthographic view and get an idea of where he's at. So it looks like there's like kind of like a bigger trim over the top. I'll do that. Real high up on the shin. These are actually hairs. These guys are right to the base of the knee. Looks like they extend up past the kind of back of the knee. Wrestling's so funny. If you ever want to like find some like outrageous outfits, wrestling is such a home run always. If you want to go exaggerated with it, elaborate, wrestling is definitely a good place to farm some creative inspiration. So yeah, I think I'll have the boot reach up to about there, just below the knee but above the shin, and then have like a little trim around the loop of the thing, and then the knee pad will tuck into the boots. I think that'll give me an opportunity to sort of like throw some branding on the boot and, you know, make some big design that kind of like maybe it says Stanton's name on Stanton on both sides going down the kind of like exaggerated tongue or something like that. I'll start building up some design on the boots so it's a little more personalized. And not having to do laces is a plus as well, because laces are not really all that interesting. I'm gonna change up the music next week. Enjoying like this sort of bubbly, chill EDM channel that I found, but it's starting to get a little repetitive. Clip curvy right there. This will be more than I need to clip off. I just want to. Just want to get a clear separation there. I'll come back through and fix that up. Try this fill brush out. Should just affect what I want it to. That does a little bit too much rounding on the edges. I'm not happy with that. Sometimes a good old-fashioned standard does the trick. Starting to probably get in the realm of probably doing a little bit too much detail for the amount of resolution I have, Dynamesh wise. So I probably want to avoid doing all that. But this shape's about what I want it to be, so that's good. Ooh, it's 2:15 already. Alright, give me 5 seconds, guys. I'm gonna take a quick break. Give me like 30, 60 seconds. I'll be right back.
ne veux pas être empereur. Ce n'est pas mon affaire. Je ne veux ni conquérir ni diriger personne. Je voudrais aider tout le monde dans la mesure du possible. Juifs, chrétiens, païens, blancs et noirs. Nous voudrions tous nous aider si nous le pouvions. Les êtres humains sont ainsi faits. Nous voulons donner le bonheur à notre prochain, pas lui donner le malheur. Nous ne voulons pas haïr ni humilier personne. L'envie a empoisonné l'esprit des hommes. Nous avons développé la vitesse pour nous enfermer en nous-mêmes. Notre savoir nous a fait devenir cyniques. Nous sommes inhumains à force d'intelligence. Nous ne ressentons pas assez et nous pensons beaucoup trop. Nous sommes trop mécanisés et nous manquons de tendresse. Je dis à tous ceux qui m'entendent, ne désespérez pas.
Alrighty.
Minorité qui vous méprise et qui fait de vous des esclaves, enrégimente toute votre vie et qui vous dit ce qu'il faut faire et ce qu'il faut penser.
Quick squeegee. Back to business.
Et qui vous traite comme du bétail. Ne donnez pas votre vie à ces êtres inhumains, ces hommes machines, avec une machine à la place de la tête et une machine dans le cœur. Vous n'êtes pas des machines, vous n'êtes pas des esclaves, vous êtes des hommes.
The music
Nous sommes
change.
avec tout l'amour
Okay,
dans le
he's
cœur.
well said.
Vous n'avez pas de haine, sinon pour ce qui est inhumain, ce qui n'est pas fait d'amour. Ne vous battez pas pour l'esclavage, mais pour la liberté.
Did everything go much quieter, or is that just me? Weird. My headset audio went like way down. Later, Ashley. Thanks for coming by. Everybody make sure to check out Ashley. She's the day before me. That's why I always end up... My mic was off when I said this. Yeah, I always catch Ashley's stream because she's in the evenings right before me, so that's like the time in which I'm able to take in some streams. So don't miss Ashley on this very same channel. My headset's going bananas right now. 1 second, guys. Hello? Testing, testing? Looks like my mic got cut away there. It was so weird. My mic, like, the power button became the volume button on the mic. So I was pressing power to recycle because it was charging and took it off the charge to be wireless. And I couldn't change my volume at all. The volume was muted and the power button was the volume control all of a sudden. So I had to try and deal with that. But it's all working now. ZBrush keeping groups. Let's do the same poly count. Let's do half. See what half does for us. Yeah, it's pretty clean. I can just polish that in. Not bad. Let's do another half. Keep groups. ZBrush. This is already getting to a pretty reasonable place, and I might want to, you know, come in here and edit out some of this stuff. Those are probably edge loops I don't need. But in all, it's really remarkable how good of a job it does. Especially like giving me good loops to play with. Little kind of smaller things that end up, you know, if you get them right, it pays dividends later on. I'll just H polish these things down so you get a nice flat sole. Pretty solid place to be. I think if I try a little mask by poly groups and see if that helps me out here. So I have the mask by poly group slider on right now, and I just have an H polish with Alt selected, so it like pulls it down. I kind of want to just pull down these two sections a little bit. Just grab that curve right there. Just work a little polish back in, a little hard polish. Solid. Just want to make sure. I think I probably went below the Z plane of the other sole, so I just want to grab the other shoe sole. this while I'm here. This is New Boot Goofin'. If anybody gets that New Boot Goofin' reference, kudos. Because it's a deep one. That's awesome, Reginator. That's great. Yeah, you know, like, the one thing I was kind of talking about on Ashley's stream last night is, like, I definitely work a lot slower on stream than I expected. Like, you know, I tend to rip pretty fast, but that's because when I'm not streaming, I can sit here and just stare at it for a while and just be like, you know, I'm not actually working right now, but I'm looking at my reference, I'm looking at the piece, I'm looking at basically digging into whatever I'm not responding to, and I kind of have a lot, you know, that's how I kind of then inform my next move, so to speak, and it's you know, a lot easier to do off camera. But like when I'm sitting here on camera, it's like if I'm not sculpting or doing something, it's probably not making for very good viewing. If I'm not talking about my process, if I'm not just, it's like I end up like so fixated on that fact that I'm not actually thinking about the piece. I'm thinking about what do I need to be saying right now, and causes me to get distracted a little bit. So every now and then I'll just go silent and finally start doing something. I know today I didn't get much done because I was too busy waxing about my new monitor and talking about, you know, game dev art principles, as if I'm even like able to call myself an advisor on that. I want these to be a little bit bigger because they are going to be kind of oversized boots. That the other ones are a little bit more dainty. I think his heel is a little bit small, so what I'll do to address that. I got the whole edge loop first try. Look at that. Must be my day. Click the little white square. The little white square will center it from the little white square will center it inside the unmasked points. Just use the camera to get the axis I want. Okay, the toe is a little bit small. So I want it to be bigger. Actually, but I want it to be grow it from the ground forward. I don't want to go too far out. Good test when you have a human foot doesn't really quite go out that far. But with, you know, bigger boots, it tends to go out like a quarter of a head length or a third of a head length beyond like the stomach. So this is chest. Probably would be a little bit farther out. It is tilted though. There's a chance it's a little bit more realistic actually. That's probably ideal right there. You'd be surprised how many times those little kind of just proportion things come back and bite you in the butt. I'm just kind of teasing this edge flow a little bit. Pretty solid base mesh. Low poly, pretty happy with it. I can come through and delete a lot of these edges. These will be unnecessary edges. So just give myself a little bit. I mean, these are probably a little bit more geometry that I want at this stage. Might cut it in half one more time, see what happens. It probably won't end up keeping this next operation. Yeah, see, that's too far. Try that. Yeah, Danny Mac does a cool thing where he's just like, I'll check in with you guys every hour on the hour. I like chatting with you guys and I like answering questions. Yeah, I think just giving a little bit about my perspective is probably more helpful anyway than me just silently streaming and sculpting. I think there are a lot better sculptors than myself on this channel that do better job of just like creating a piece that everybody wants to see get made. These game assets are a little bit duller in that I'm kind of always thinking about topology and our you know, the whole thing is about sort of this like kind of simple read. You know, I could see that being not so interesting, but maybe kind of sharing the process of getting stuff into game and what I'm prioritizing for the engine and talking about the game dev side of things. That's something I do know a lot about, and I think it's probably hopefully helpful to kind of dig into that stuff and answer those questions a little bit more. That curve a little bit too far. Just want to suggest that toe area usually in boots, usually that toe area comes up a little bit. Usually it's like a product of people, you know, over wearing them and stuff as well. But like usually this little part kind of bulges up on the toe, but you still have this like nice taper back here where it like kind of comes around. Decent shape overall. A lot of times, things I want to keep in mind is that this has to deform. Like we have to have edge loops right here to break the ankle bone where it steps on the toe there. So that's important to have, you know, good topology there. You'll notice my topology is kind of reaching forward a little bit, but that's okay because like that's like the exact area it's gonna break. Like the ankle's gonna break right there. One brush that is often underused, I don't really have much need for it other than this, but like the nudge brush doesn't actually change the shape of the geometry, it just moves the topology. So like it'll find out what the surface is and it'll move along the surface, but it doesn't actually change the shape. It'll like make the shape, I mean it'll change it a little bit, but like the purpose of this brush is to move the topology around while retaining the shape that you've already lined up. So like if I have all these edge loops are too far forward, but if I just pull them back, I still have the same shape, everything's the same, but now when it deforms it'll have a nice more vertical break, and that's important. So I just pull these back a little bit, now those edge loops are a little bit straighter. And it'll deform easier when it comes time for animation. Still feels a little bit too big though. It just feels like it's too far out. I think largely because this leg cuts so much in. This part's just too long. I know that I shied away from backing up before, so I'm looking at my reference. But it's just too long. Is keeping that. I don't know why that polygon's not moving. It's so weird. Let's try that again. Am I insane or is this like clearly... No, it's masked by polygons, that's why duh. Sorry about that. There we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're talking. What's up, Design by Memory? How you doing? That brush, Becky Nation, is the nudge brush. It's super helpful. B then N, nudge. Yeah, especially if you're like me, you're focused on, you know, this is going to be in a game engine, so you need it to like, you want that geometry, like, you know, right here. It's like, this is kind of, you want that geometry as straight as possible. It's just going to help. So it's going to retain the form. It's not going to change the shape. It's just going to nudge the polys like a move brush would. But instead of like pulling the whole thing out, it's just gonna like, if you overuse it, it'll do it. But yeah, it's just like, it's just gonna nudge these areas without trying to affect the form. It's trying to keep the form as solid as possible. So it's a super helpful brush. When I start getting faces I don't like, I often will just like delete and return that geometry to the area. I can sort of work it out myself with some cleaner geometry. Yeah, see, it's nice and big, but it has like, it has that like inward curve that shoes tend to do, especially. This song's killing me. It's like songs like discordant, so it's making me think discordant. It's got like that inward kind of curve of the boot, but it's still kind of like bulky and meaty. Too far with that side. Polish that down a little bit. There we go. And so much of those errors you kind of just find while just again working the model around, and seeing it from all angles, and you're like, oh wow, you know what? There's actually no shape here. Put a tiny bit of indication of shape there. I can just smooth out after. That's all I'm gonna need, because then I start adding more and more detail. Those other things start finding themselves. Oh, you saw that interview, huh? Designed by Memory? That's awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was our first time we met the guys from ZBrush when they asked us to kind of do this. It was definitely our pleasure. It was such an enjoyable time. That's we really get into the whole business of making games in that talk. At least for whatever dumb kind of things we picked up along the way. God, this song is worse than the one before it. So 15 minutes here. I think I'm going to try and do is just get the base shape in for the knee pad. It's going to like go a little bit up the thigh, a little bit, then it's going to be tucked into the boot. This boot geo is basically ready to go low poly. So that's exciting because it means I'm going to be able to kind of get right to work with it. This is just getting worse and worse. Careful with smooth brush, especially when you're in super low poly. Smooths can really kind of get you. When you're working this low poly, you gotta be real careful with using the smooth brush. Likely gonna need to come in here and clean that up anyway. Just a bit of leftover geo issues from when I did that scale operation. It's not hugely critical I fix these right now. I just want to get them a little bit more sound for when I come back through with the higher resolution detail. Yeah, that's fine for now. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of cleanup, and I'll go back in there and clean this out for later. This is all probably gonna, probably gonna make this to a pretty bulky tread where it'll have, a big chunky rubber sole. Yeah, Devil. So that's our studio channel. But yeah, Jay and I will jump on there, talk game dev stuff. I don't have too many personal work out there. Anything I got time to do is for this game. As I suspected, I went way too far below the Z plane. So just draw a transform line out. Scale it to about so. And just use the move brush just to bring it up to the point where it's in line with the sole of the ground plane. And these are the times that you don't want to be working in perspective mode, because these are the times when you want to be able just to see orthographically that everything's lining up as expected. There's a couple things I'm noticing I probably want to do. One is probably want to bring this down a bit. I'll leave that bottom part masked, so don't mess with it too much. Then what I want to do is I want to kind of take nice clip curve right there. I'll just paint in a real nice little arch. Now I have that, and I want to grab this and just tilt that up. So that you'll find that with a lot of boots, like they kind of sneakers, athletic shoes, boots, they have this sort of like, because I'm using that alt again, so like see how like I'm holding alt and move, and it's like doing it along the curve there. Make sure I get it right. That's basically the axis by which I want to like tweak this thing up. Hold alt, do a move, and it'll like bring it up with it, if that makes sense.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
There we go. And that little, I find with shoes, like that little elevation change there adds a lot of believability. Like a lot of cleats have that. Not too much, but you definitely want it to be there. And then like a lot of times the sole of the shoe will come around and do like some kind of like almost like a toe plate. So I think I'll probably do something along those lines where like it'll pinch up a little bit and then I'll drop like a plate on there. Jesus. The amount of just like distracting songs that keep playing on this random playlist. Can't for the life of me understand what's going on there. Set all brushes. What on earth is happening with this thing? It's a good sign to save. Well, it's 5 till anyway. There we go. It's kind of dull, kind of boring, going through, you know, just all that kind of nudging and manipulation, but getting like a nice solid shape is really helpful. I know that like when this knee bends, I want this part of the cuff in the back. I got my reference here, kind of shows that like boots this high will kind of get caught up in the back of the knee there, and so like you'll start kind of seeing like those muscles on the calf will push it out when it's standing straight, but like when they compress, everything here turns into just like a big folded over mess. So I wanted to kind of make sure I get all this stuff just so, get all the topology just so, get that curve underneath the heel just so, get the little kind of elevation just so, and I think even though it's kind of dull stuff, to be honest, it's gonna pay off dividends when it comes time to start putting high poly detail into this, which I'll do next week. A little bit of curve up tends to go a long way for boots. I'll bust out that nudge brush one more time, just roll this over a little bit. Reginator, absolutely, yeah. It's got several methods, several ways to do that in ZBrush. You can do OBJs. I personally work with FBX, find that a little bit easier. Turn the smooth brush way down just to kind of polish that up a little bit. Yeah, see, that's like a nice place. Now I have that solid foundation on which I can build the high poly. Like start doing some real fun detailing, build some panels, and like pull off some like cool rubbery bits. And I'll probably do like a big shin guard that says like Stanton written down on the top on it. And then maybe put some straps in the back, and then I'll finish with the knee pad, and it'll all kind of be like this sort of like wrestler boot, and maybe even like work some tassels around the top, so like maybe there's like 4 or 5 tassels dangling off of each boot that kind of just flap in the wind as well. That'll fit his like sort of sort of flowy vibe he's got going. This sort of, I don't even know what you call it. I think the leather jacket and the leather uniform, some black boots, B small shades, gold shades. Maybe that probably needs a little bit of jewelry. I think maybe we'll do some jewelry next week. Throw some gold chains around the neck. Yeah, I think a little bit of that might take this character pretty far away. But yeah, Regenator, you can do ZBrush. You can do OBJ input via just this import button. That'll import Maya files, OBJ, Maya ASCII, Mesh Binary, and then all these other GoZ applications, which is like the ZBrush, internal ZBrush file. But I ended up just using zplug. I mean, most games engines these days are FBX is the chosen thing. So I rock FBX, export and import, and you'll find that like I even put that on my custom UI. I got export FBX right here because I just do. I mean, you know, I want this guy to get an engine right now. You know, I have the low poly of the boot, the low poly of the body. Just hit that export and throw it in FBX format. You can get into Maya that way, you can get into game that way. You could also, of course, just hit GoZ, and GoZ just sends it right over to Maya. GoZ will send it to Maya, Max, Moto, whatever your DCC tool of choice is. Alright, it is now 3 o'clock. You know, sorry I didn't get much done today, guys. I was doing a little bit more chatting than working, but we got the shades done. We got the shade blockout done. I'm just kind of putting the blockouts in place, and then, you know, the fun stream will be when we start detailing all this stuff. You know, I'll get the knee pads rounded out. You know, do a little bit of extra cloth on the top and the bottom of the knee pads. Maybe some cool art design can go on the knee pad. And after that, I just want to do something cool for the bracers, like the wrist guards, because he does deflect the shield with his wrist. So I think I'll probably put a little bit something, you know, decorated. Maybe it's just like a bracer with like a metal armor on it. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but gotta definitely dress up those bracers. Dress up the bracers to match the, you know, same style as the leather on his vest and his bottoms. And yeah, you know, get all that stuff stored away. So we'll get all these, you know, accessories put together. Hopefully next week, move a little bit faster. Like I said, got the new UI, so I'm still kind of getting used to it. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Yeah, if you have old OBJs, I mean, like I've got a base mesh folder that's just OBJ, and it's like all stuff that I kind of came across. I don't even know when. Is it under tools, I think, maybe? But yeah, it's just base mesh, and it's just base mesh OBJ. I won't show up over here. There's only tools. But yeah, that whole folder for me is just like, you know, animate proportion female, bulky proportion male, human proportion female, human proportion child. So I have OBJs that are all pretty old, and I don't really care to go through them all and update them to FBX or some other format. But whenever I'm in ZBrush, like I'll go to that folder if I want to like, start with like a child size model. I'll go grab a child. I know that's going to be like, okay, the feet are in the right place of the origin. The amount of like real world units is correct, so I can sculpt on it and it'll work in game. So having good like base OBJ really speeds up a lot of things. Really speeds up a lot your workflow time wise. Doesn't have to be OBJ, of course, but that's just, you know, to go to your point. All right, guys. Good stuff. I will see you next week. Apologies for the delay today, and we will hopefully get some more exciting stuff next week, which is be more detailing and get these props looking a little bit more finished, a little bit more ready for game engine. All right, guys. See you next time.